Welcome to Women Talking Soccer. I'm your host, Carrie Taylor. The goal of this podcast is to amplify the voices of all women who love the beautiful game. Whether you're on the field, cheering from the stands, work in the business, want to be in the business, or are a passionate change maker, your voice is important. This podcast is presented by Women in Soccer. Women in Soccer is a network of women and allies involved in our favorite sport. You can join Women in Soccer for free online at womeninsoccer.org. Hey there, I am here today with the founder and just amazing person, founder of Women in Soccer. Her name is Courtney Carroll Levinsohn. Courtney, thank you so much for being on Women Talking Soccer. Can you kind of start us off by telling our listeners a little bit about your background and how you came to be involved with the game that we all love?
Thank you, Carrie. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Thrilled that you are also the voice of the Women in Soccer podcast. So merging these skill sets, I'm very excited to have you on the team, basically.
Thank you.
And my background in soccer, I grew up in California and Northern California. It's important to say. And I grew up chasing my brother, and he would push me down and I would get back up, and eventually I ended up just dribbling around him so that he didn't push me down. So we shared a passion for the game together, and I went to Cal Berkeley to play college, and it was a wonderful experience. I tried to play professional soccer in the first iteration of the WUSA, the WUSA, where I tore my first ACL. That put me on a road for sports psychology. Mm-hmm. And I had every intention of returning to a professional playing career, which didn't happen, but the journey along the way was finding my coaching career, mm-hmm. and how sports psychology was the lens through which I was coaching, and building my consulting practice with sports psychology. And then I moved to, so I was in youth development and building clubs, hiring coaches, coaching mm-hmm. coaches, moved to New York City, and experienced an urban soccer landscape for the first time in my career. And the difference between an urban soccer landscape and a suburban soccer landscape are huge and massive, and filled with systemic racism and systemic gender bias. And it's not built for people of color across urban landscapes. Mm-hmm. So if you want to play in an urban landscape, the game means something even more to you. Mm-hmm. And it is a tool that now drove a lot of my work when I came to New York. I tried to work in the club scene in New York City, and the parents weren't worth it. So it was, how can I make an impact?
Right.
And what I noticed across the landscape in coaching of New York City at the time, this is 2007, 2008, it was a deep concern about the number of women that I connected with in this space across the soccer coaching world.
Because there were so few of them?
Because they didn't exist. Yeah. And when I left club coaching and then returned with the work that I do with Brooklyn City Football Club, it's a crisis. Mm-hmm. And we don't, even myself with my extended soccer network that I built through a 20-year career, have trouble finding coaches, have trouble finding rising coaches, and who's going to train these rising coaches, especially if they don't come from a place where they can access a licensing course, right? Like it's how do you provide access to soccer in a different package than the one that's been delivered to a suburban soccer environment? Because that's right. What soccer's trying to do in an urban landscape, and it's not working. So what I've noticed in that package, but what I do know is that kids in this urban landscape love to play.
Right.
And they find ways to play. And we support programming that helps them find ways to play. One of the programs I work the most closely with is South Bronx United.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've watched them build brick by brick is a community. And when the community is engaged, the other things happen.
Right.
The social programming can be executed.
Right.
The academic programming can be executed. So it's what I want. Their model of how they went in to build their community was through the game.
Mm-hmm.
And they used the game to make the kids engaged in wanting to play. The game was the incentive.
Right.
If you're not at a certain GPA, it means something's slipping, and maybe we need to pull back on soccer a little bit more, increase some tutoring. And it's like, oh, wait, this is real? You're going to take the game away from me?
Yeah.
So now they've built this community that has representation in the game.
Right.
And what it's doing for all the things underneath that, it can be replicated in all these different facets, right?
Right.
So
right.
when I think about what the road to building women in soccer, it really did start with coaching. And when I noticed the coaching crisis, I made a short documentary called Coach, which follows the journey of Tracy Ham, one of 2 American women with the UEFA A coaching license.
Right.
As she was one of 40 men in her class, and I needed to know what that looked like. And the short documentary gives us a window into what some of the obstacles are, both obvious and subtle, that keep women and people of color from participating in the upper echelons of the game.
Right.
Because at some point you either are like, I don't really want to tolerate the bull. But Tracy's personality is one that I knew
could tolerate it. Yes.
And that's important, because not all women can, but I need them to feel like they can still coach. Right.
Or work, as the CEO, or be in the business.
Or stay composed under pressure when a male colleague is trying to purposely make them lose focus.
Yeah.
Right. So creating an awareness where women aren't going into coaching because the culture is awful.
Right.
Let's build it ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's what got me to this point. And I'm really excited to put a functioning network in place for the women and the allies that exist in the soccer space.
Right.
Into practical reality. We have the technology now. We have the interfaces. We're all here together. We can't be on the field. We can't be in the stands, right? But we want to participate.
Right. You mentioned so much that really resonated with me. The fact about the barriers to feeling included, the community feeling or lack thereof a lot of times. And, one thing, you and I are of similar ages, and we're still trying to answer questions that we've been trying to answer for 20 plus years. And, that's the one beauty of this Women in Soccer network, that one of the reasons why I said yes when Tracy was like, you need to meet Courtney and you need to get involved in this, is we have to have actionable ways to make change, and we need to link everyone together and make all the women who want to be involved, whether they're a fan, whether they're a player, whether they're a coach, whether they just want to donate money or they have a business, and just create these conversations and this network.
Or they just love soccer, right?
Right.
Love merch and want to start a Women in Soccer merch Slack channel, right? It's a way for women to participate in the game in the same space, the way we haven't done before. It hasn't been created where we're all there at the one time, right? We've done coaching conferences,
right?
We've done industry conferences, right? Like marketing and sports, you know, but never merged them.
Right.
And when I want to go back to the actionable things that people can do, because like there are organizations and people using the game to do exactly what you said, but we've been operating like islands and we don't
Right.
know enough about each other, or we like
Exactly.
know one or two that's really popular, like street football world. Yeah, I like they've done a great job of making their brand like reach more people because it transcends the game.
Right.
So and so putting a space in place where those organizations and those coaches and those leaders can come and show us what they're doing,
mm-hmm.
and provide another person who's trying to build something similar some tools that they really found valuable in the experience of building what it is they're doing, right? So this journey of organizing those groups has been the most fun experience of my life. And because the leaders operating in it, they're doing incredible work, and they deserve to have a space to show more people, for their messages to reach more. And it's all the things that are underneath the umbrella of soccer, right? Like the industry and the founding experts like yourself and other founding expert networks, partners, like the Lavender Legion is the supporters group for the Louisville Racing NWSL team.
Right.
And the two women that run it have generated so much engagement that like people knew what the draft was that night. You know what I mean? Like people were talking about it, Carrie. Like we've been in this place for a really long time.
Long time. Yeah.
Where you had to work in sports to find out when the draft would be. You know what I mean? Like you had to work in sports.
Yeah.
Because you had access to things that like might be on some kind of, I don't know, programming schedule schema. But normal people didn't know where to find that. Now we can watch Liverpool play Chelsea women.
Yeah.
What?
And talk about it and have podcasts about it and have women write articles about it.
Yeah. Right. But not experience the collective economic power that it could and should and will garnish.
Right.
By collectively organizing ourselves to be in a position for the, you know, all of the women are in this position because soccer's been marketed to us so poorly.
Yeah.
We've gone out and became our own entrepreneurs with it.
Yeah. So one question I have, and, you know, I've had some people reach out to me and say like, what is this women in soccer thing? And I've tried to explain A, that it's free, B, that it's a community, and, you know, have directed them to the website. So it's womeninsoccer.org. Can you explain the 4 different kind of memberships or 4 different ways to enter? And then when someone signs up, what are some of the benefits, and what are some of the things that Women in Soccer will be doing, you know, once the official launch happens December 9th?
Great. Yes. So thank you for reminding me that December 9th is our official launch. And we will be giving small doses of what our content will look like and sound like, and the voices who will be participating in the space. So our expert founding members and some of our network partners will be joining us on the 9th to give viewers you know, a feel for what our programming will cover. The network is a membership-based network where all memberships are free. The first one is community. And I see that as a recent grad, you're in grad school while you're coaching, you're building out your professional toolkit. You're networking with different people across the industry, not just one right now, like feeling it out. And you're listening and participating in panels and workshops that help you build out that toolkit.
Right.
Or you're somebody there who's not interested in engaging in professional development. You're there to have fun and enjoy the space, right? And when you sign up as any member profile, you will, your membership profile is your player card. And it will have indicators on it for whether or not you want to be reached out to for a professional opportunity.
Right.
One of the reasons we're building the database this way, the network base this way, is so that it can be a place where people can search for candidates. We want to take the excuse of a male DOC, which is director of coaching for non-soccer people, but coaches who hire coaches.
Right.
We want to take the excuse of we don't know where to find coaches that are women or coaches of color.
There's no people applying. There's no woman out there. Yes, there is. Here you go.
Yes. So I want to debunk that. Right. As a way to keep people out of participating in this wonderful sport and being leaders inside of it. So the community member is our kind of our like entry level and like our most chill. And then there's an expert space. Expert space are women like yourselves who've had careers in and around the industry, but you have knowledge and expertise to share that our members, our community members, everybody is going to get inspired by.
Right.
These women running, programming throughout the country, A license coaching. It's these leaders who have occupied that space, and they want to tell you sharing the story of how they managed to occupy the space and stay motivated and stay compelled to hold the door open for the next person.
Right. Like your Elise LaHughes, who's general manager of Sky Blue, or Aries Pickett from the NWSL main office.
Right. These experts who have knowledge to share. Having the only female GM in the league right now is important. It's a position of power that deserves visibility to inspire another female GM, another female who sees herself as a GM. Right. I'm not necessarily a coach. I'm not in sports medicine. I'm not in but I think I can manage. I think I would like to take a team to, build a community around a friend. Like it's filled. The network is filled already with women who are doing this. Women in soccer gets to come in and formalize it.
Right.
With the infrastructure that allows us to have this platform. Experts are asked to share, right? Join our panels, run a workshop, give an EDI workshop series, series over how you execute it how you found success in your community with this programming. And that island, so it's like sharing the information with all our with the different islands. They can go back and apply it in a way that makes sense for their island. It's not a one size fits all, right? Which is also the participation space.
Yeah. How can men
love soccer?
Right.
And they come in all different shapes and sizes. Right. And I want them to see themselves as women in soccer just as much as Tracy Ham, just as much as Brandy Chastain, just as much as a former player or a coach. Women fans are driving the support and the excitement and the spirit. They're buying merch, they're buying season tickets, they're becoming invested in the players who they're watching and supporting. And the players that they're watching and supporting are this generation of players who are emboldened by what has happened socially and they are using their platforms to drive social responsibility.
Yeah.
What I see it all linking, so I'm excited. So that's expert. Then there's ally, which is our bros. Our dudes need to join.
Yes.
Dudes need to have 2 female references to be able to join the membership. And that shouldn't be hard if you're a real ally. Okay.
Right.
And this is a place where you can come and find your female candidates. This is a place where you can come in and talk about what the state of allyship is in your community, in your club, in whatever. Be a leader, you know. Maybe you're a soccer dad and you want to run a workshop on, like, you know, how do I best support my daughter transitioning into a different space in her life, right? Dads, we can dial up the emotional intelligence here, right?
Right.
And take away the stigma that you're not allowed to talk about stuff like that. Of course you are. It's more interesting when there's more stuff on the line, right, on the table. Then there's the network partner, and these are the soccer for social change organizations. One I'm most excited about is America Scores is coming out with. And please go and learn more about these organizations. Our platform is a place where we get to spotlight them, spotlight the work they're doing. When stuff opens up in their corporate, you know, world, they're on the jobs board. Our jobs board is curated for industry jobs, but we also have a Slack channel that we invite women in soccer to also participate in, and that can be a member-to-member opportunity, right? I'm a woman in soccer community expert working at a law firm, and we have a summer internship opportunity. Send me an email if you're interested. And that's like a less formal jobs board, right? Where a member can come in and say, hey, guess what? I just moved to Austin. Who knows of a good, you know, club that my son could join?
Right.
And the network has your back. And it's the way we've called on our networks now and taking like that guilt of I forgot to call her back out of the equation, right? Because we're going all the way back to analog and phones. Like, right? How many phone calls have you made? You know, and like, oh my God, I forgot to call her back, right? Yeah. And like we've been doing this for a really long time, and now we can let technology step in and make it a lot easier for us to be, especially the ones with the personalities who've been connecting people like this for years. And you all know who you are. But this is how we got to know each other, right?
Yeah.
Our network created what I call the Women in Soccer Starting 11 of the founding expert members who are coming in as representation of experts in that space. And I couldn't be more confident in my starting 11, and I'm super excited to watch them play every Saturday.
I'm excited to be a part of this, and it's been really, you know, as someone I consider myself like I've been around a long time. I really wish that this organization would have happened 20 years ago, and there've been different iterations of it, and there are other women's groups out there that are doing, you know, some similar things, and we want to also include them. I know in the UK, I think Women in Football is an organization that you've, you know, had some conversations with, and maybe did they kind of inspire you to start this, or what was the
yes, I mean, absolutely. There? I mean, it's like I hadn't thought about a network specifically for soccer. Because when I was trying through Coach, how do you get more women to go into coaching? It's like, that's the wrong question, right? Because there's so many obstacles that have intersection in so many different places. It's about women are going into coaching.
Right. But are they staying? Are they feeling supported? Are they advancing?
Exactly. And so it became, and then it's about, well, you could say the same thing about that for a woman in soccer in, you know, a marketing department, right? Is she getting the same opportunities that, all of the things. So when I heard Ebru Kaskal, one of the founders of Women in Football, speak at the Athens Women's Football Summit in 2019, I'm so lucky. Who knew that would be one of the last live events of my year?
Right.
But she was talking about living in the solution, and going about targeting one area of the industry was keeping me in that one area of the industry. And the solution was making it bigger than soccer, because it's about because we know that there are opportunities out there, because our networks have grown and reached this like executive level in the game, and within coaching and in leadership, and in the women who have made the MLS stick around through their marketing,
Right.
brains and stuff. So there's, and like making them visible and giving people representation. Now that couldn't happen then, because we couldn't see somebody in Seattle while I lived in, Austin, Texas.
Right.
And now we can. So I think it couldn't happen until now, right? And the women in football model being pretty much based in the UK, the alignment is about, we have sparked simultaneously, and in Australia there's a women in football.
Yeah.
And women and football, and the World Cup going to Australia 23.
Yep.
There's like an ignition happening, and it's about women seeing themselves as being given permission to participate in the space.
Yeah.
And the leaders in the space giving themselves permission to call themselves expert and to harness this collective power. But it's too much to ask, like, everybody to say, okay, we got to stop for a second and organize ourselves and, like get together. Like, it's where we kind of, you did conferences, and then, things would kind of fall apart.
You'd walk out of there like excited, and you'd go home, and then you're like, oh, I'm by myself again in my one club, or I'm the only woman in the room again.
That's how I felt every time I screened coach. This is a way to rebrand how we market the industry to ourselves.
Right.
Because it's happening at every level. And the investment that we're watching happen in England, someone decided there was potential there, and they went about and did it. And then they were in the semifinals of the World Cup. Like, when we were in college, we could beat England with our college teams 8-0, know? And now they flipped the switch, and the exposure of the game in its constantness there, right?
Yep.
There's a soccer brain who didn't even know she was absorbing where to go when her keeper had the ball. You know what I mean? And then all this exposure mixed with an investment in coaching, mixed in an investment of like, we're now not going to stigmatize you as like ugly or masculine. We're not going to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, or aggressive.
Like they intentionally reversed the peer pressure around that stigma.
Yeah.
And fuck yeah. Jesus. Look what happened.
Yeah.
And the things that I was seeing in 2018 and in 2019, when my girl Nikki lived in London, was this, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, beautifully produced like previews of that weekend's match. The same way you would see an NFL preview. It was a 10-second spot, but it would be like that music, that level of like kind of like building up competitiveness within the club, right? Of a strike that was like purely skill, not gender driven, right? It's about, oh, we're going to invest in knowing that exposing that this many times, over this many months, over this many years, over this many, will normalize the league.
Yeah.
And so that excites me. Now, if we can harness that level of investment here in a way where it's strategically marketed to replicate that exposure, to replicate that importance of deserving a beautifully produced preview spot that is shown and blasted over all of the different things many times.
Yeah.
It's a decision. Now, if it's not being, made, well, like debunking that you can't make money in soccer and women's soccer specifically, right, has now been like taken off the table.
Right.
Because
the future's female, and I think sponsors are starting to really recognize that. And,
right.
Kudos to the NWSL and the WNBA and
right.
And
well, this is like, and why did they say that? Well, because you have stories coming out of Utah Royals where, that leadership was fired.
Right.
And the stories coming out is because Becky Sauerbrunn wasn't pretty enough to market on their posters, right? Yeah. It's like, these are the people making decisions about how things are perceived.
They're the gatekeepers, and
like they drive things being integrated so that my son knows that men shave, drive cars, and you know what I mean. Like the commercials, the programming, it's all so intentional, and if driven by brand. And if that brand could see the potential of making it intentional, they will make bazillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And the fact that's now just coming to light, well, better late than never. So brands, come on, y'all. Come and
get involved.
Yeah. Come and do this, because everybody loves it every 4 years, and you are all the drivers who could make it where Alex Morgan doesn't want to go play in England because her situation's so great here, right?
Right.
Now I'm all for players to go and explore.
Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. It's about
what I'm saying, but
it's about the financials,
exactly,
the support, the
if you felt like it was just for fun, awesome, but we know it's not.
Yeah.
And so if we can get our best players to be invested in this league being the premier league, there's enough players for it to happen everywhere, right? But each NWSL team is an all-star World Cup team.
Yeah.
1 point something billion people tuned in to the Women's World Cup final.
Yeah.
They want to watch these women play. But then they come home and they're not marketed. They're not. It's like, I just watched Alex Morgan and all these women in this final, and then they have like 100 people at their Orlando game. Like, where is the disconnect here?
Yeah, I think, you touch on a good point. And one thing that I firmly believe is a lot of times the decision makers, in those rooms, a lot of times women aren't in those rooms making decisions. So like, women know how to market to women. And so like ideas, no disrespect to men, but you need to ask female opinions on, okay, what's going to get more women in the stadium? What's going to resonate? Do the colors resonate? Does the language in this tweet even resonate? All of those little things. And the more voices, does it resonate with people that don't look like us, that aren't white? Like, it's, you have to have that diversity of opinions in order to reach the entire community. And, that's one of the things that.
And I want them to stop wasting money, because if they don't do that, their initiatives
Right.
don't go anywhere. And
Right.
like, I would be pissed if I was that higher up, saying like, how come you guys can't figure this out?
Yeah.
Oh, because you don't have enough voices at the table.
Right. Well, unfortunately, a lot of times people say, well, women just don't want to, or people just don't want to watch women's sports. And that's, you just pointed out like the World Cup viewing, during the pandemic, the NWSL viewership was up almost 500%. If it's on TV, if it's available in the media, like we have shown that we do want to watch it.
Yes. So it's like, well, so then who's listening? Other women.
Right.
And they listened, and they built businesses around it.
Yeah.
Right. And they harnessed its power to create opportunities for others and they've been proven successful in this space.
Yeah.
So getting those like-minded women together, and now that Angel City FC has provided us with a group of Hollywood collective minds that want to invest in this together, we have a new ownership.
It's a new script, actually, entirely. It's a new script.
Right? Because hey, did 15 of me and my friend, if 15 of me and my friends got together, could we pull enough money? Right?
I think we could. I think let's talk about what city to do it in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, now you're talking about a new script that can now be marketed to women, instead of, we're two brothers from North Dakota and we want to buy a soccer team, you know? And like, that's how soccer's been handed to America.
Yeah, true.
But I don't want to hate.
No, so, we're not. We're speaking some truths and everything. And
so, so if this is how it's been introduced, how can we create communities out of the things that are there now, right? Yeah. And then build new franchises with the lens of EDI being the community driver that ends up sustaining the franchise's brand. Everyone buys the new kit every year. Everyone's you see yourself in the community in some way. It's attached to a youth program that has, pathways and access to
the community, the collaboration that women are so good
at. And all the different professions that go underneath that, right? You need your trainer, you need your logistics manager, you need your equipment person, and everybody, there are so many women wired to do each of those jobs incredibly successfully.
Yeah.
So this is a place where they can all interact and connect
and get to know one another. Well, Courtney, I could talk for hours about all the challenges and all the.
But that's why you're hosting the podcast. So I'm really excited. Everybody tune in. Come and check out womeninsoccer.org. Look at the membership profiles, see what one resonates with you most. Come and check out some of the content that's there live on the site now. Coach the Movie is there. Use it as a resource for your own clubs and communities, and join us for December 9th when we can fully activate the player cards that become your member profiles, and you'll be able to fully engage and enter the portal that is designed for you to have fun and participate in, because it's the game that's bringing us there.
Absolutely, Courtney. And thank you for, founding this great organization and all you've done in your career for youth and for, players out there and other females out there.
Others held the door open for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm sitting here. And what I found is that when it was through the game, it was kind of effortless and a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And so making sure that this army is doing that for the next gen coming up, they need us. Everybody stay safe, stay smart, And when it's okay to activate, we'll be in the stands and cheering loudly.
Yeah, we'll get it done. So thank you everyone for listening to Women Talking Soccer. I really hope you enjoyed hearing from Courtney, and you can feel inspired for her passion in order to connect, inspire, and empower all women on and off the field. Courtney, thank you so much for your time. It was great talking with you.
Thanks, Carrie. Talk soon.
Thanks.